Then that was the first time in my life that I asked questions from inside me. Do I want to die living the life I was living at that time? We
Mm.
find our purpose, or will we re-examine our life direction based on a crucible moment. From the ashes of that, I started really designing a life that I thought I'd be happy dying.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Soulfulness of Life Podcast with me, your host, Soul Coach Juzzara. In this podcast, we have soul conversations about life purpose, personal transformation journeys, and living in the present moment or mindfulness. On today's edition of the podcast, I have with me as guest a seasoned executive coach, a regenerative leadership and team culture facilitator, a keynote speaker, and also a shamanic practitioner. As a coach, she is certified on neuro-linguistic programming, career power for managers, Lego series play, and the Mind Gym, among many others. And she has been based in Singapore for many years, over a decade, and now she's back in the Philippines. And there's so many exciting things I know that she is planning. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome on the podcast Miss Diana Jean Reyes, or DJ. Hello, DJ.
Hi,
Welcome.
hi, Jazara. Thank you for the warm welcome and the generous introduction.
I know that there's so much that is in your experience. You've been all over the world facilitating workshops, and you've trained as a shaman in Peru. I've spoken with DJ, and it's very interesting, her story. So I guess there's one day in her life that changed her trajectory.
So actually, yeah, I started my career in the field of corporate finance, the stock market, um, because I think in my time that was the sexy industry to be part of. I
It
think,
was, yes.
diba? So I think a lot. It's a common story that we really look at what are the trends of the time when we graduate, right? But I think what really kind of shifted my trajectory was in 1999, my dad died, and I was only 28, 27, something like this, and he was 50 at that time. So then that was the first time in my life that I asked questions from inside me, which is like,
Mm-hmm.
do I want to die living the life I was living at that time? Because when I did the math, if
Mm-hmm.
I die the same age, I was like, wow, 22 years is not a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in my work in coaching and in facilitation with leadership and also a bit of purpose work like what you do, I think that's one of the major ones that I've found that's quite common for a lot of us, that we
Mm-hmm.
find our purpose, or we re-examine our life direction based on a crucible moment. And
True.
so because of his passing, I kind of like, from the ashes of that, I started really designing a life that I thought I'd be happy dying with. That was the crucible moment. And then, but when it comes to aliveness coaching, the defining moment for that, when I kind of really crystallized my purpose on the essence I came here to bring to the world, was the Camino de Santiago. Because when
Mm.
I remember that day super clearly in my mind, because it's an 800-kilometer walk, to those who don't know, from France to the westernmost edge of Spain. It took me and a few friends 33 days to do it. But I remember there was this one day when I was on top of the meseta, not on top, like along the meseta, and I was looking down and I felt so alive.
Mm.
I only had two sets of clothes. Can you imagine? For 33 days, I would wear one set and have one set for the next day. Then laundry, then like this. And then I was like, wow, that was the first time it hit me of how little it takes to be alive.
Yeah, imagine. I just decluttered all 70% of my stuff during the pandemic, and I felt like it was not just physically creating space, but it created space in my life. So, when we have so many things, we we attach ourselves to, we accumulate. The DJ is actually an aliveness coach, aliveness. And what a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that about it was really your yung the death of your father, no. And yun nga yung there, I know there's a book, diba, Regrets of the Dying. And you that's usually one of the regrets is not living a life true to yourself, right? And
Yeah.
not be, yeah, but living maybe based on others' expectations, not being brave enough to live the life that you want. And at least at the age of 20 plus, sabi mo nga, it's not even long enough. Ako, I shifted careers just recently. And yeah, so talagang, wow, okay, just konti na lang, diba? And both of us were helping people to be mindful of that. Na, you know,
Yes.
it's possible. It's not just a pipe dream to really live your, you know, the life that's authentic to you. About the Camino, so can you describe that? You were saying you were standing above. What is it? What did you call it again?
A meseta is like wheat fields. Pero parang there was a little hill. I was on top of that. And then I looked at all the pilgrims, right, with backpacks and then
Mm,
walking. And then, yeah, I just felt so alive and connected with nature and so happy to be there. And there was nowhere else I would rather be, that kind of feeling. Then I was
mm,
thinking of all my boxes in storage in Singapore because I lived in Singapore for 18 years. I was thinking, wow, not one thing in that storage I was missing at all. Like, yeah.
yeah. So being an aliveness coach, I mean, there's so many coaches. I'm a soul coach or spiritual life coach. So many, diba? So when you got that, I guess that was a divine download when you were up there, that I'm going, you know, this is what being alive feels like, and I want to be an aliveness coach and, you know, bring this sense of being alive to everyone I coach. Can
Yes.
you talk more about, you know, what being an aliveness coach is?
Um, I think for me, it's basically three things. One, it's living life fully awake. It's living
Mm-hmm.
life fully present to whatever is here, and it's living from the heart. Those are the three key things about aliveness. Because um, I think some of your listeners and viewers need to also consider sometimes, life is super funny this way that the minute you decide this is what I'm going to share and teach, it will show you everything that's not that in your life. So
Mm,
personally for me, when I said I wanted to grow aliveness in myself and others, I was shown everything that wasn't
mhm,
life-giving
mm,
or that wasn't bringing me that aliveness. And that's
yeah,
hard, right? Because that means
right.
really changing many things. But based on those three definitions, one of the biggest for me was before I had a misconception that aliveness is happy clappy. It's
Mm,
just joy. But then
mhm,
what life taught me was being fully present and awake to whatever emotions we are feeling in this moment,
mm,
what,
mm,
whatever season in life we're experiencing. Um,
mm,
and also even in the silence, that's part of aliveness. And I think
mm.
all of us have been so conditioned to just keep aiming for the happy clappy kind.
Some people call
Yes.
it toxic positivity, right? Yung
Yes.
it's always feeling good, ganyan. But yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, that being alive is, it's just really being present for it all, right? And
Yes,
I guess the other
exactly.
thing there is knowing that everything is for your good, everything is for your soul evolution, right? Everything is for your growth. When you see it
Yeah.
that way, and I know that you said that was kind of difficult when you were shown that, okay, there are still many things in your life that no longer serve you, that are that, you know, stuff you need to let go of. And as a teacher of aliveness, you would have to be the first one to practice what you preach, right? So what is it like to, you know, have to um come to terms with all the things that you are now aware of that were giving you life, and that you really had to change?
Yeah. I think that is one gift of shamanic
Mm,
work for me or shamanism for me is that, we are nature. We are
mm,
like nature and we are nature. So, when the fall season comes. Not that I mean, I think I'm sure we have some version of that. The leaves have to fall, right? Whatever is
Mhm.
dead needs to go. Whatever is toxic needs to go. So um yeah, it wasn't easy necessarily to let go of habits or people or relationships or ways of being that I felt were not life-giving, but eventually I've come to terms with, yeah, it's just like seasons of life. There's winter, spring, summer, and fall, which is also part of regenerative leadership because it's really leading in the way of nature. So there's a lot of intersections, and I feel in my line of work, nature is the biggest guide.
A lot of us are disconnected with nature, especially for those of us who live in the concrete jungle. We don't get to connect anymore with our natural surroundings. First of all, maybe, I mean, I myself not that familiar with what a shaman is. It's like so mystic, so mystical. Maybe we can
Yeah.
demystify it a bit. There's two things now when you share mystical experiences. Sometimes when people aren't ready, it's not gonna land well. But but for those who are already on that path, and I know that, of course, the people who are attracted to this podcast are those who are also seeking, soul searching. Your shamanic journey, essentially, how was it? Yeah, how did you end up there? I mean, and at a very young age, it's only been recently that I guess it's been more common or popularized. But at your age, so many years ago, you already got into it.
Yeah, I was in the closet for many years with regard to shamanism and the Inca way.
You did outing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so um I was studying under a teacher who was half Peruvian. She organized a sacred journey to Peru with an Inca shaman and priest. And that was an amazing story in itself because there was supposed to be 8 people. But Hermano Tahuiro asked for all of our photos and our birthdays. He went up the sacred mountain for 2 days, 2 nights. And then he went down. He said, only these 4 people can come to Peru for the
Wow.
journey. And yeah, and the
Yeah.
initiation. I have to say, I really connected with the land and with him like so much, like just really like soul family, like that feeling. But
Mhm.
in 2011, that whole training was really more around one, how to
Mm.
know and trust nature as an oracle. And the second one was how to harness our relationship with the elements and with the animals. And so my journey started really more with me and Mother Nature. So, in terms of a definition, a shaman is one who journeys into the darkness in order to be reborn or to help others be reborn into the light. Shamans are able to kind of navigate the extraordinary world, they call it. So we are in this ordinary realm. So this is the
Mm.
physical
Mm.
realm where we see each other, but the ones that we don't see is what they call the extraordinary world. And there's the
Mm.
upper and the middle and the lower worlds where the animal spirits reside, the elementals and the fairies reside, or the apus reside, and the angels.
So you mentioned that being a shaman is really about journeying into the darkness. So it's like
Mhm.
shadow work. Maybe some people call it shadow work, and then so that you can, because if you have been able to journey into the darkness and been able to come out of it, then you are able to guide others. I know there's like some stuff you shared with me about um these experiences about really confronting
Yes.
your mortality, or even the things in your life that were very painful, and because of that, no, you were able to release all that.
One disclaimer that I just want to share with everybody. We don't need plant medicines in order to journey to the extraordinary world. It's something that we can do by harnessing our intuition, trusting our inner voice. Um,
Mm,
what else? Harnessing a relationship with nature, all those things, right? We can all do it.
fully
It's just
agree. Yeah, fully
yes,
agree.
it's just that we need to be able to practice and harness and nurture, and also, as you said, be brave enough to look into the shadows. And by shadows, these are parts of ourselves or aspects of ourselves that we don't want to see or look at, or we don't accept, or we deny,
Mm,
right? Or experiences or people that we haven't forgiven or we haven't released, all these things. So that's just a disclaimer. But then sharing more about my experience journeying with ayahuasca, I think
mm,
there's really two things that I got from that experience. One is the nature of reality, because the
mm,
minute I so ayahuasca is actually a feminine medicine. So by
mm,
feminine, that means she goes into the womb space, and like a shaman, right, goes into the light. The womb space is actually like the darkness, right? So you take ayahuasca at night,
mm,
and she will take you through all the painful or traumatic experiences that you've avoided. So it's not a gentle experience for the most part. So third, feminine, because as women, actually one of our biggest gifts, which we've taken for granted, is allowing our body, the wisdom of the
mm,
body, to inform us, or to, yeah, to be like a feedback system, right? So you will feel everything in your body when you do
mm,
ayahuasca. So for me, the
mm,
two things, one was I saw the nature of reality. Things,
mm,
everything became like moving fractals or pixels, and I experienced what I would call synesthesia. So every movement and every sound had a color and a sacred geometry. And then
mm,
it was like I was in this moving weave,
mm,
like everything was weaving, and it was so beautiful. So
mm,
then I understood, oh, this is why we should stay neutral and non-judgmental, because even like ayahuasca showed me that even COVID had a signature and a color. So like everything was just weaving a tapestry. Everything is neutral and everything has its beauty. So that was one.
mm. Okay.
And in that reality, I also realized everything moved and shaped, or formed itself according to what I thought and felt. And so
Mm,
that was one of the things I wish we all knew since we were kids, that
mm.
that really this power to create our reality is so, it was so tangible in that space, right? I could see everything moves according to how I thought and felt.
Okay. How does I still can't visualize that. Like, how can you explain more? Like, maybe like how was that? Like, maybe a bit of it.
Like if I judge something as beautiful, then all of a sudden, right, it will become colorful, whatever. Then if I
Yeah.
judge something or allow fear, then all of a sudden I see ugly colors or scary things.
Oh, wow. Okay. And yeah, so wow, that experience is really yeah, parang it removes the veil, right? It's you see reality as it is, which is true because we are all energy, everything, nothing is solid, right? And you saw it as it is, diba? They of course sabi nga nila, it's like we live in the matrix, diba? Everything is like
Yeah.
um it's really just a well, sige na, let's say it's like a program,
Yeah.
but yeah, but you saw it as it is, and yun nga eh, parang wow, if you had that realization at that moment that your external reality is a direct reflection of your internal reality. Everything is you pushed out, right? Everything is you pushed out. And I know that like Buddhists, I have interviewed on this podcast, of course, Buddhists who do meditation, and it's the same experience, right? And of course without taking anything. It's just really pure meditation that allows them to also experience something similar or to see the world as it is. Um, did you also experience? You mentioned about being able to uh, have that experience of forgiving, right? Did you experience that one? I mean, they say that it's really feeling non-duality or oneness with everything. And when there's non-duality, you don't really have anybody you're against or take offense with because you feel it like they are you and you are them. Did you
Yes.
also feel that oneness? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There was this so with ayahuasca, after every journey and I get the lesson, I'm
Yeah.
thrown into, it's hard to explain. I'm thrown into another journey, right? So at that moment, I
Yeah.
was shot into the body, the bodies of people who hurt me in my past. So when I looked down, I saw myself as them.
Not like like not feeling them, but being them. Being
Yes,
them. Mm,
I was them one by one. I was each of them. And then
mm,
I'm like, okay, this is take what you said, like we are one and I am them, they are me, right?
yeah.
But in that journey, what I got was I understood how they saw and experienced the world.
Mm, wow.
And
Yeah.
then so I the only term I shared with people I at that night was it's radical compassion,
Mm,
because
mm,
it's not just empathy. You
mm,
don't imagine stepping into their shoes, you are them. And so I
mm,
felt all the pain, the anger, the way they saw the world, the way they experienced others, or the situations in their life. And because
wow.
of
Mm.
that, like, I understood in a very deep level why they could hurt me, or why they could hurt other people for that matter.
That experience isn't just imagined. If you actually were given a glimpse, or no, not even a glimpse, you were made to experience and understand um what led them to do certain things, right? That were very hurtful and traumatic. And that's not just imagined, because you knew the backstory even when we didn't really know it before, right? So that's like you
Yes.
really and I guess, entering into their soul or something like that, even if maybe they're not living anymore. How life changing was that experience for you, and how did it change you knowing that, in the future people will still be hurting you, right? And disappointing you. So how did it change your life view?
I try. But of course, I think for as long as we're human, we will be triggered. I mean,
Yes. True.
not for as long as we're human. I think for as long as we're alive, it's part of our
Yeah.
evolution and growth. But yeah, definitely changed, because one, I understood why hurt people. Second,
Mm,
it removed my victim mentality,
mm,
because
mm,
in that space, there's no need to blame. It's just
mm,
compassion and forgiveness, right? Not to say
mm,
what they did was okay, and that those are two different things, right? Honoring your boundaries, respecting yourself, and knowing what's right for you or wrong for you. But just
mm,
really releasing being a victim, releasing blame,
mm.
releasing judgment that just makes you feel bad anyway.
Mm. I guess one of the, kasi I guess that's a mystical, that would be considered a mystical experience, and not everybody is able to have that gift of experiencing it. And maybe some people they only experience it once and never again in their life, right? And that you just need to go back to that experience again to remember the lesson again. As you said, we still get triggered. The same old things maybe can happen to us, but we go back to that experience and remember that, oh, okay, that experience already taught me the lesson, right? Or
Yes.
the showed me the reality, right? And
Yes.
I would suppose you also teach that. Uh, you also share that with your coachees, right? The people that you try to lead into the light, right?
Not well, I pace people where they're at. I also tune
Yes.
into my intuition if it's the person is ready to receive. But then our Hermano Tahuiro actually shared a really important piece of wisdom with us when we were training under him. He said, when people ask the questions, that means they're ready for the answer.
When the student it is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes,
And
yes.
when the student is truly ready, the teacher can already disappear because the student is ready. So speaking of aliveness, we did promise that we will share some tools. As you mentioned at the start of the program, you did realize that, okay, I do want to live a life that's authentic to my heart's desire, or who I want to be. And a lifetime is not enough to savor that. a lot of my coaches are also in that space, looking for meaning, purpose in their lives. Any tools, any tips we can share on aliveness?
Okay. So for me, the paths to aliveness are three P's.
Ah,
Purpose, and that's why I love what you do. So purpose, presence, and pilgrimages. Okay.
mm,
So so I'll give one tool or tip for each that your listeners and viewers can use. Okay.
wow.
First,
Thank you so much.
okay. So first for purpose, it's what I actually shared earlier about really looking at maybe your crucible moment in life, and
Mm,
then writing down what were some of the gifts of that, and how did it change the way you viewed yourself, life, and the world. That provides one of the biggest clues or building blocks of why you're here.
right. And I have this favorite quote: give your pain a purpose and use it to make a difference, right? The value that you can share with others is from that pain and how you got through it. So yeah, very, very, very beautiful.
That crucible moment, just think of what gifts it brought you, and how it changed the way you view yourself, life, and the world. And then from there, you can start with the building blocks. Sometimes I also like sharing it with other people so that they can reflect back to you. Um,
Mm,
they can reflect back to me, actually, there's this part of the story that you missed. And then it helps you with the building blocks or the words to start with.
mm,
So that's one tool on purpose, is really mind the gifts of your crucible moment or the most challenging or difficult time in your life. The second
mm,
one is presence.
mm,
And I'm sure people will say, oh, meditation na sasabihin mo. But actually, um, for me, like presence is always including a pause
mm.
before you make a decision or a
Mm.
choice.
Choice.
Ask yourself
That's
this
your
question: is
um
this life giving for me, for others, and for the world?
not just for me, no? Yeah, not just for me. Yeah. So those three things. Yeah.
Yeah. So presence is translated into pause before every decision or action or choice you take. Is
Mm.
this life giving for me, life giving for others, and life giving for the planet?
Nice. Okay.
Simple. And then the last one is pilgrimages. And for me, this is just walks out in nature, right? Doesn't have to be like
Mm,
an expensive plane ticket to Peru or to some
mm,
other foreign land. But so the shamans call it an omen walk, but positive psychology call it also synchronistic walks. I think that's what they call it.
Why
So
omen? Sorry, just to ask. Yeah.
yes. Yes. So basically, you set a time, maybe walk out in nature, like maybe a path that you haven't explored. Set a
Mm,
time, 30 to 30 minutes to an hour. Have an intention or question in your mind. It's an
mm,
omen walk because with your question or intention in mind, notice what
mm,
you come across on your path
mm,
and how your walk unfolds.
mhm.
And
And
then
when you
you
say how you what you come across in your path, this is not necessarily physical. It could be physical, but also in your mind, like what you come across as you walk.
no, no, thank you for
No.
clarification. No, it's
Mm.
nature, like
Oh.
the plants, what animals, what
Mm.
insects,
Okay.
like that.
Yes, really nature.
Nature.
Okay.
So nature as an oracle, like that. In fact,
Mm.
this omen walk is just a mini version of what they traditionally do in the time between Christmas and New Year. So sometimes what they do every day, I think from the 26th, they have omen walks 30 minutes every day. And then every day is a representation of the month. So for example, 26 is what will happen in January, 27 will be what will happen in
Mm.
February, December 28,
Mm.
like that. Can you imagine?
Okay. Mhm. So but it's like so nature, because nature is a teacher. So you can learn something from what you encounter in nature. Is that right?
Yes, it's basically the power of the metaphor. So it's like oracle cards, but instead of
Mm.
picking an oracle card, your whole environment is the oracle. So what
Yeah.
was the weather? Like what insect was there? Like yeah,
Yeah.
was there a bird that flew by your path? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Like that.
Mm. And when you're there, you'll know it. You'll when you experience it, you'll know what
Yes.
we're talking about or what DJ is talking about. And just allow yourself to because this is part of being intuitive, right? Not and when you're doing that walk, it's not to is to drop into your heart or your soul and not to really analyze too much or question it. Is what I'm thinking right? Or yeah, just allow yourself to receive what messages are coming.
Yeah, so just as an example, right? I remember there was one particular day on the Camino when I was really thinking about what to do next and all that. I mean, we walked 33 days, and it was only that day when a snake crossed my path.
Mhm.
Then I started to think about, okay, what does a snake mean to me? It's the shedding of the old,
Mm,
an exploration of the physical, because the snake like slithers on the ground like that, right? So
mm,
being allowing myself to feel like that. So that was
mm.
how I interpreted that. But some people
Nice.
might interpret it differently. A friend was being cheeky, and he said like, "Oh, maybe it just told you run away."
Yeah, but yeah, but that's what the message that came to you was that, and that is really, I guess that's really the message for you. And it's a meditation, but with open eyes and like yeah, it's open senses and really sensing everything that's around you. And that's really, meditation doesn't really have to be just closed eyes and sitting down. You can actually walk through nature, and that's a meditative practice, and it gives you messages that you need to hear. Yeah. Okay, very nice. So those are the three. We already had three. Thank you. Wow. So I learned so much. Yeah, just with that, the three. And thank you, DJ. I know that this is something you can also share with my coaches, and it's so easy to remember also. So okay, but first P is purpose. Second P
Purpose,
is
presence.
essence. And the third is pilgrimages. Yay, I remembered. So yeah, very, very easy and also very meaningful. And yeah, so if you want to experience aliveness, look into your the what's the most pivotal moments in your life that shaped you, and this how can this be a contribution of yours to others.
Yes.
Second is being present. Uh Again, presence is
That
how do you
pause before
that pause
decisions
before
and
making.
choices,
Yeah.
right? Is this
Yeah.
life giving to me, to others,
Yeah,
and
that
to
yeah.
the world?
That beautiful question. Yeah. And yeah, because if it doesn't give you life, then what is it for? Diba? Why would you want to do it? And the third is yeah, pilgrimages, and that's really experiencing life with open eyes. So very nice. Okay, so now I know that we only have an hour conversation. I feel like we should have a part two. Yeah, but this is so much to cover, and DJ has really so much wealth of experience. How long have you been a coach, DJ? So even when coaches weren't very popular yet, diba? That
Yeah.
career.
So I got certified in results coaching in 2007.
Yeah, wow. That's
So
like do the math. So more than yeah, it's like okay.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
long, long, yeah. More than almost 2 decades na ba yun? Di naman. Yeah,
Yes,
I guess
yes.
so. Yeah. And so yeah, so there's really and you really journeyed, done pilgrimages all over the world, experiencing these different cultures, and also immersing in nature and letting that also inform you about your practice. So thank you for sharing all that. I mean, an hour is not enough for sharing this wisdom that you've gained. But of course, I know that you are now back in the Philippines. Yay,
Yes.
we have DJ with us now in the Philippines, and she has is continuing her practice. So where can people find you or connect with you? Are there any activities or what's lined up for the coming months? Also, I know that DJ is planning let's see if it's gonna push through. But she's planning a trip also again to Peru, a
Yes.
pilgrimage to bring people there. Yeah. So go ahead, please do invite people to connect with you.
Yeah. So my website, which is under construction but almost done, is aliveness.space.com. And then currently I'm on Instagram as the Heart Slide. What's ahead? Okay, yes, I'm going to be hosting a sacred journey to Peru, which I hope will be as life changing as all my trips to Peru have been for the other people I will be hosting. It will be May 18 to 29 this year. That's what's ahead. I will also be posting more information on cacao ceremonies. I also have, because I also have an online course on designing your career according to the four elements. Because before I became an executive coach, when I was much, much younger, I was a career coach.
So that's virtual, the one on career. It's a
Yes,
virtual course. Yeah. So it's
yes.
available on demand. You can just go to DJ's website, and then yeah, if you want to
Oh,
have a career that's more life giving, that can guide you.
one last thing, I also do shamanic healing sessions. I forgot to mention. So
Oh,
if
yeah. What
so
happens in a shamanic healing session?
the shamanic healing work is a combination of talk mind, body, heart, right? So there's energy work. I use rattles and drums, and then I do journeying work. Um,
Hmm.
and of course, there's talking and coaching along those lines as well. But more than anything, it's really I call it reclamation sessions because I find that it's about reclaiming all our lost parts that give us strength, power, and beauty that we forgot or
Nice.
we gave away.
And DJ did mention that she holds cacao ceremonies, and I was able to attend my first cacao ceremony. I've always been curious about what happens during a cacao ceremony. You should experience it for yourself. But it was very soul soothing, that I would say. So if you want to experience that, DJ will be holding more of that also. So watch for that. So thank you very much, DJ. Is there one last thing? Maybe one. What is your mantra, or a favorite quote maybe you want to
Oh,
share, that to leave our listeners with?
yes. Okay, there's I have two favorite quotes, but one thing that I always
Oh,
go to when I'm confused, everything is solved by walking.
pilgrimage. Yes, everything is solved by walking. Okay, nice. And then the other one, do you want to share the other one?
This one is when I started facilitating and coaching. I think it was by Lao Tzu. Confusion is the beginning of understanding. Discomfort is the beginning of skill.
So yeah, welcome confusion. Don't panic. It's something that can actually be life giving for you. And also the other one is
Discomfort is the beginning
discomfort.
of skill. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Very beautiful. Thank you so much, DJ,
Thank
again for
you.
guesting, and hope to have you again here in another episode. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.